Yes, welcome to P.M.P. jumping along the Bhoycie Bus. It's me and Terry. Terry had an easy week last week, so I thought I would bring out the sunglasses for this week, mate, because I'm not having you have an easy ride on this show. This is meant to be the bane of your life, Terry, is having to do P.M.P. each weekend. And after Celtic's performance today, we could be close to getting to peak Terry Robb. How are we, mate?
You caught me unawares there. I thought I'd another 2 minutes of the intro to get myself all settled and get a wee drink and fix my hair and all that kind of stuff.
Got to watch. Folk are out to get us, mate. Folk are out to get us, mate.
What's with the dark glasses then?
Just fucking having it, mate. I'm just a rock star, man. Just a rock star. Just like every day you should live like Glastonbury, Terry. Every day. Just wait, like, just cut away like you're on stage. It's the way I am. It's the way I can deal with you, Terry, and your uncomfortable truths. Anyway, before we get into it today, we'll do all that good stuff. All that good stuff means if you've not hit the like button yet, please do. If you want to like, share, slag my hair, by all means do so as well. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like Jean Jota, like a million other people, they're not already in the chat yet, so you can just ring them off, Terry. There's nobody actually in the chat yet. I think it's a dying breed, mate. It's a dying breed. But anyway, if you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, it's $1.99 a month. It keeps the wheels on the road. It is entirely up to yourself. If, however, you're feeling a wee bit peckish, you might go to Pi Sports, 12.5% off at the checkout if you use the code BUS1888. With Terry, it's all about the big guys now, and it's all about our new friends at ED Pharmacy. In fact, they've got a new one. Look at that QR code. Terry, it's there. If you want to have a blue pill tonight and Celtic haven't, given you a sufficient green pill, then by all means, go to edpharmacy.co.uk. Remember, they deliver for free if you're in central Scotland. Usually it's same-day delivery. Orders they take up to 6, 7 o'clock. If you want to go all night long like Lionel Richie, then give ED Pharmacy a shout. Terry, Celtic certainly could be doing with going to ED Pharmacy if this season is going to pan out the way it is now, because they cannot last all night long the way we used to accustom to.
Aye, wasn't great the day, boys. You sure it wasn't? Keen to get your views because I know you weren't on the post-match.
Because I'm never on.
You weren't on the post-match last weekend after the Glasgow Derby game, but I've watched you on the other shows, and I think you were probably one of the more relaxed people around last week's result, and I totally get that viewpoint, and I understand. But I wonder, has your position shifted any way at all, given what we've seen today and the way we've sort of just continued in that slumber from last week? I mean, that was pretty hard to watch today. Dreadful.
I'll tell you exactly the space I'm in, Terry. Rodgers season 2.
I mean, I usually make wee notes. The only thing I've got on my page today is, was that Curtis Main or Erling Haaland? Because we made that guy look like an absolute
Jerry, we're in a very, very similar realm as we were after season 2 with Rodgers. Now, people reflect on Rodgers' time and go, the football was shite by season 2 under Rodgers, eh? It's because he left us that you say that. No one was saying that at the time. He was the Messiah. He was the God. Right now, we are back into that realm. And this is where Celtic either act or repeat misdemeanors of the past. We are in a space where undeniably, even not at our best, the dominant force in Scottish football. But there's warning signs there, undeniably, just like there was season 2 with Rodgers towards the end. Warning signs that it's just became a wee bit laboured. It's becoming a wee bit, I know it's meant to be rock and roll football, but now everyone knows what to expect from that rock and roll football. So there again, we need to reinvent ourselves. And if it is going to be possession-based like Rodgers did, or if it's going to be Ange ball-based this time around, then to carry on the momentum shift that we've had, we have to then get better guys in to do it and keep it refreshed. Now, I think the ball, or the driver's wheel, the bus's wheel, whatever you want to call it, Terry, is handed over to the Celtic board now. Are you all in on Ange? Like, you want the world to know you are. The same as they did with Rodgers. They wanted to do all the, Brendan Rodgers is our guy. He's the man. They wanted to be seen doing the photo moments. They wanted to be seen to be going, we're the same as you. Actions speak louder than words, Terry. No two ways. Rodgers wanted something Celtic couldn't provide, chose not to provide. Now this summer, we are going to enter into almost an identical space in time in Celtic. It's almost a complete carbon copy of where we were in 2018. It would have been. It's almost the exact same situation we're in, Terry.
I think we've known that, though,
You think
Russell. We've
we're
known
going to react as a
that.
club?
We've known that for the last 6 months that this summer was going to be
No,
pivotal.
I'm talking about the football though as well, Terry. The football is now on the park is almost going that way as well. It's very symmetrical, in my opinion, anyway.
Aye, but I mean, I'm not wetting the bed in terms of the last 2 weeks' results, because that's happened after the title's already been won. But I think we have said on here that pretty much from March onwards that we weren't playing brilliant. And I think what you've said there is probably a good way to describe it. There's warning signs, and perhaps if we had just continued to get results in these last few games, we going into the summer, maybe the eye comes off the ball a wee bit, thinking, well, you know what, we're top dogs here. We're so far clear. There's that temptation not to kick on, but we're probably in a position where last week and this week, and I totally get players potentially easing off at the end of a long hard season, but some of those performances last week and today they're just so far off where some of those players have been and where they need to be, and it's very, very hard to understand. I mean, is it just as simple as saying, okay, we won the league, then there's just been such a drop off? It's natural, because there's another way of looking at that. When the pressure's off, you should actually be able to perform better than you did.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And do you know what I mean? If there's players on there who don't want to put it in, give some of the young lads a run who would love to be able to make the breakthrough at a club like Celtic.
He doesn't fancy the young lads. We know it. That sounded weird. He does not rate the younger players coming through, mate. He just doesn't. He doesn't, and that's why they're not gifted that opportunity. We also have seen, though, I agree, people given opportunities and a chance to stake your claim for next year.
For a cup final in 2 weeks' time.
No one's taking it. No one's. Aye, you would think the cup final was even happening, mate. No one's taking these chances, because whether we like it or not, Celtic can become a sleeping at the wheel type of football club, just like that. We're capable of it. And I think Postecoglou's brand of football that he plays, I think his demeanour, I think the way he gets people into a mindset of how to attack games, how to approach games, also has an expiry date. And I think eventually it rubs off. That energy kind of, once you've heard it a million times, you go, I'm not that bothered anymore, mate. I'm not as up for it as I was. And that's where you need to become that ruthless guy and you start recycling the team. Say that again?
That's where ED Pharmacy come in.
Aye. Aye, the only blue pill we will promote on the channel.
Have you noticed he's lost his cough?
Go on. Say that again?
The Ange cough. It's gone. I watched his post-match interview there, and there was no cough. He seems to have replaced it with a sort of a large intake of breath.
How much responsibility does Ange take right now, Terry, in the current form that we're in? Is he immune from criticism?
No.
Is that a dark space to go into?
No,
I think that's where we need to be very careful. It's okay. It's okay to critically analyse the team that you love, Terry.
What else would we talk about? I mean, when I first seen the lineup today, my initial thoughts were, right, I'm just totally confused now. Why is he going for this team today, which on paper was possibly as strong a team as we could put out, yet he didn't do that last week, yet we were at home today against St Mirren. Last week we were away to our biggest rivals, who we've got a really strong Indian sign over, and I would have preferred us to keep that. But then you're looking at the back four. So he's brought in this lad, Kobayashi, brought him in the January window. He's kind of waited for his opportunities. He got a couple of games where he looked reasonably tidy, but we didn't have any sort of decent sample size to make any kind of assessment on him. Then he's decided to put Carter Vickers out to pasture with 6 games still to go, on the basis that we had won the important games, the league was going to be done, and
let's pick that one up. Does that sound? I'm not trying to interrupt here in a bad way. Let's pick that point up though. Does the fact that the Cameron Carter Vickers situation is right? He's done his work. The job's done. Does that then send a signal around like the whole place that the important game's now been seen out? Cameron Carter Vickers has signed off for the year. Does that then resonate across the squad? Is it going, well, if the manager's kind of letting him have the rest of the season off, does that mean our feet are up as well? I'm just trying to be. I'm maybe overthinking it, Terry. But I'm looking at it as a mindset thing and going, whilst I was all for it, I then go, does that maybe then creep into the rest of the guys' mindset that the season's off? Don't worry, Cameron Carter Vickers is allowed to get the rest of the games off. That's because we've done all the hard work. The hard work's done. We can now take our foot off that gas.
I suppose it's possible. I mean, I would look at it slightly differently in that he has assessed where Carter Vickers is at with his injury, and they have got some kind of opinion on how much recovery time he's going to need and when he's then going to be back fully fit playing again. And I would think that that's all based around the start of next season, because whenever he first went out, the initial sound bites were that he was going to struggle for the very start of next season and potentially the Champions League games. Then there was another view that he's going to be back well in time before the start of the season. I would imagine that if Carter Vickers had continued to play right through and into the cup final, then had his surgery, then had his recovery period, he probably wasn't going to be back at a period when the real games have started again.
Terry, let's not look at it as a CCV individual thing here. What I'm trying to say is, what's the message? What's the message to the rest of the squad? CCV's done his work. He's allowed to, pack his bags, go get his surgery. Does that tell the rest of the squad that we're done? We're in cruise control now. The hard work's done. Is that what we're now seeing in performances? I'm not saying it negative, by the way. I'm trying to work out.
It's one player going for surgery that he needs. He hasn't.
But look at the angle, though, Terry.
You're going to be. If I get where you're coming from, but if a whole squad of players all react in that way, then it's not a response I would expect the full squad. If 1 or 2 players in a squad react that way and down tools, then fair enough. But surely the captain is there every day, the manager's there, the experienced sort of first team players. They're not going to let that. They're not
okay.
Going to let that
if it's not that, what leads you to the conclusion that Celtic's form's dropped off the way it has? Where are you at? What is it you're seeing, or what reasons is it you can sort of come up with as to define why it has became what it's been?
I honestly don't know, Bhoycie. It can only really
be.
It can only really be we've won the league. The work's done. That's all it can be, really. Or you then look at it differently. Well, is our form in the last 2 games a massive drop off from what it was the games before? Probably not massive, but there definitely has been a marked drop off in those 2 games. You've got players making decisions that they just did not make at any stage during the course of the season. We're conceding goals that we just did not concede. With players looking as if they've never played together. There's players looking as if they've never been on football field together. That back 4. I mean, if you are Carter Vickers, and sorry to bring it round to him again, if you're Carter Vickers, now wouldn't be a bad time to ask for an extra few quid a week on your contract, because since he's dropped out of that back 4, it's a complete mess. And that losing his place today for Kobayashi is very, very damning. This was his opportunity to come in, and today a midfielder was preferred ahead of him. Where does that leave his Celtic career at a very early stage?
Kobayashi he's not going to do it, mate. He's not. I think for all Starfelt's faults, Starfelt's a guy that Ange likes for whatever reason, whether we like it or not. And I look back at it and I go, we had 3 centre-backs when we signed the Claxon, the O'Neill Claxon. We absolutely loved those centre-backs. In an era of social media and podcast daft, by the way, that's the fastest pint of Guinness I've ever seen drank in my life. You poured that. That was fresh before we did the intro credits. Yeah, that was good, mate. Good work. Welcome aboard, Terry. I don't know. I think if you looked at Valharen, Mayalbe under a microscope that you now look at players, they probably at times could be in that Starfelt territory. I think he's over scrutinised. I think he's over analysed. I think he's a defender that Ange goes, trust him. I trust him with the better defender. And the two of them are great. Kobayashi for me is definitely not at that level. I think the fact he was taken out the team, as you rightfully point out, Terry, it was damning today. Because when you've got Iwata coming in, Iwata to me looks, the honest truth, like what I expected the best J League players to be, Terry, if I may be so cheeky. I know it's arrogant because we've not got a right to judge other leagues because we always chase accreditation and accolation from the English Premier League. However, our instincts when it comes to J League players before Kyogo, let's be honest, was it's a backwater. It's where guys go to retire, and it's where upcoming players don't make it in this league. Do you know what I mean? They just don't. Are we maybe now realising Hatate, Kyogos are exceptions to the rule, and maybe the likes of Kobayashi and Iwata was one step too far, going to the same well one time too many, Terry?
I suppose if you look at the overall, so many players have we brought from that league, Bhoycie? Is it 7, 6?
Ideguchi didn't make it. Kyogo made it.
We signed him. I think we signed 7.
Yep.
I think we signed 7. So if you say Ideguchi was a miss, Kyogo and Hatate are massive hits. I think you've got to say Maeda's. You wouldn't say he was a miss. He's not everyone's cup of tea. But I think he's been. He's not
a miss, mate. He's not a miss. But what I will say is, he's not a brilliant footballer.
No, he's not.
He's not elite footballer, mate. He's not for me. He's not. I watched him today, Terry, and he's thinking of doing things that he can't actually do. That's the problem. He's got his ideas are right, but he cannot execute them. He's not at that level. Maeda will be a 4 point of whatever it is Ange wants to do with his team because of the way he plays and his style and his nature. That's okay. And I'm all for that. And I don't want Maeda out by any stretch. But he's not on the next level. And I think what we're seeing is the next wave of J League players we've brought in, Terry, we just need to tell the truth. It's going to be hard to match your Hatates, your Kyogos, and even Maeda to an extent. These guys are now, they may have shone in that league, but that doesn't mean you're Celtic class now.
Yeah, this is a totally ignorant view of Bhoycie, but I think what you're saying, and I probably endorse it, is it probably feels like that well is now dry.
I agree with you, mate.
If Ange feels that some of these guys were the better players in that league to bring across, there's a few of them have got a lot to prove. Now, I'm not even going to judge because I've thought Iwata he's looked okay. He's looked nice, neat, and tidy. He's looked physical specimen, but he's not going to be centre half for Celtic as a long-term option. That's why I found today so strange to put him in there because that's just not his position. I think he might have played there at some stage in Japan, but he's not going to play centre half for Celtic. The first thing that came into my head was, are we going for this near beaten thing again where we start playing midfielders at centre half? But I think it's very damning for Kobayashi. I don't know, even at this early stage, and there's so many reasons why the guy mightn't be showing what he's capable of, but at this early stage, it's quite hard to see. Can you envisage him playing for us in the group stages of the Champions League next season?
Difficult, Terry. It's difficult because when I see players getting shoehorned into positions that you rightfully point out, doesn't look like it's their first choice. But that tells me if it's not his first choice position, but he's playing ahead of Kobayashi in his first choice position, that tells me it's not a knee-jerk reaction to say Andrew's looked to Kobayashi and been as disappointed as we were. At Hearts Rangers, I think he's went, oh yeah, fucker, right? he's not where I thought he was going to be. Now he wants to try and fit Wata into that role today. A home game, yes, you can take your chances. It's home and the league's done. And I appreciate Chunks coming in and saying, we're buzzing off the level that we've played at. And I appreciate it, Chunks. And I totally get that. I also think Andrew's on an investigation of his squad, what his downfalls are, what his plus points are, who he can count and who he can lay his hat on next season, Terry. I think the fact Kobayashi wasn't starting at centre half today is damning. I think that's read into that what you will, but that tells me he's made his own mind up. And we'll get called knee-jerk as fans, Terry. The guy's played 2 games against Hearts and Rangers, been fucking dreadful. No getting away from it. And Andrew's decided not to stick with him. He's not double down. He's back down. He has chosen to back down on that guy. That's an Andrew signing. But Terry, should we be amazed, shocked, surprised that free transfers from the J League aren't going to cut it with 2 internationals, albeit USA and Sweden, not saying they're powerhouses of world football, but internationals nonetheless. And I think there is a drop-off now in the levels there. And it's maybe time Celtic get a wee bit more serious.
I think so, Bhoycie, because Carter Vickers is out now. What's to say he won't be out at any stage next season? What's to say he won't be out during that key period of September to December when we're playing in the Champions League? Can you imagine getting into the Champions League with a back 4 without Carter Vickers? Because it's possible it could happen. You could also have a scenario where both Carter Vickers and Spfl are unavailable at the same time. Can you imagine what that back 4 would look like? Sitting where we're at now, I mean, I've been talking long about wanting an upgrade on Spfl, but now, do you know what I mean? I think we're bare in that position. I hope beyond hope that we just go out and we bring in somebody
Terry,
that we can rely on.
I want to talk to you now. But the dust is settled, and Celtic are very close to a treble again this year, which would be an incredible achievement, and no one's taking anything away for that. Let's look at the 2 last transfer windows. We all were happy clapping them all. I now think when you look at those last 2 transfer windows, you should have now concerns, grave concerns. I got, not to make this about myself, right? But I remember saying, I listed the guys we'd signed last summer, and I said, keep your eye on this board. So I didn't feel this is as momentous as what I thought it would have been. The wave of ambition I felt we had under Ange after last season would have been far more ambitious come the summer transfer. I listed the players that we signed. I listed the values. I listed the costs that it would have incurred on Celtic. And I said, keep your eye on this board. We then go to January, Terry, and whether people want to admit it or not, we made a profit. We get told again we've strengthened. Ange even peddles that message. People have accused him in the past of being a yes man. I don't like to go that far because I don't think it's his demeanour, if I'm honest. But there's an argument for it, and I'm always open to the debate. For Ange to say we've came out the last 2 windows stronger, I'm beginning to think is a stretch for me now, Terry. I'll be honest. And you cannot have your cake and eat it. You cannot tell me Juranovic is world class, then replace him with a $2.5 million guy for the MLS and go, it's better the way. Huh? I'm like, well, were you lying then the whole time Juranovic was there? What way is it? And for me personally, I actually do think Jonathan is better than Juranovic. Wasn't even Cho. Let's get real. The first target for centre forward wasn't signed in January. The backup option was. And for him to come in and replace Georgios Giakoumakis, to me, took something special, because I think Giakoumakis brought a hell of a lot to the party.
Look at them.
I am not convinced. Very, very quickly, just to sum up what I'm going to put to you, Terry. When we now look at the last two windows with dry eyes, not dewy eyes, just telling the truth, have Celtic really been progressing at the same rate we think Andrew's progressing on the part of the Celtic side? I'm not now so sure.
Look at them as a trio. So those three that we moved on in January, Juranovic, Jens, Giakoumakis. So the three that have come in against those three are Johnson, Kobayashi, and O. Which three is the stronger three?
It's not about that though. Let's look at the windows, Terry.
That's what I'm asking.
Please, let's do the windows. Do you believe Celtic has improved? Celtic's first team as much as been dressed up when you look at the cold light of day. Have the last two windows been as compelling as we thought?
That's the argument I'm trying to make to you. I'm trying to say I don't think the three that came in to replace those three as a three are stronger than the three that left. And to be honest, I didn't think much of Jens anyway. But I would have to say that if he was here now, if Jens was still here, he would be in that team now. Mark Jens. And we let him go, and we were kind of like, do you know what? I don't care. He's not the answer. He wasn't the answer, but he was probably closer to the answer than the other guys. And even in this last week, Russell, I don't know if you've heard sort of people are making compelling arguments for Stephen Welsh to be drafted back in to be the second half for the cup final. But that's where we're
fucking hell. I mean, it's the biggest backtrack that the judge has ever done in his life. This is the guy who literally sold his soul. He sold Stephen Welsh up this morning, and then he's going,
I didn't know Mark had called for him to be brought in.
Oh, Mark was saying, like, he would agree with Welsh being back in the team. I couldn't believe, man. Yeah, I was like,
but do you know what, Bhoycie? Do you know what? Well, if you were given a choice right now for your two centre backs for the cup final, who are you going with?
Oh, it's got. Well, this is interesting, because it's not because Mark's wrong saying he would play Welsh. I just think the climb down from where he stood on Welsh before is pretty miraculous.
I think that view is probably.
But now you look at it and you're right. You go with what's in front of you. How was Jens not the best option out of all them? And you know what? Again, it got seen as and viewed by the likes of myself. I cannot deny it, Terry, as strong management. He got 6 months. He knew in 6 months he ain't good enough. But you look what he's brought in the eyes of Kobayashi. You look who's sitting in the background like Welsh, and you're going, but if that's the answers, that doesn't really answer the riddle of, okay, Jens might not be your cup of tea. That's okay. We're getting better though, right? We're going to have something better. And if come the end of the season, the Scottish Cup final, as you rightfully point out, we're going to bicker over Stephen Welsh or Yoki Kobayashi, who I think is dreadful against Hearts and Rangers. I'm not going to dress it up, Terry.
Or
Iwata now playing centre back. Tell me that. If that's an improvement, then is that an improvement on where we were with Jens? No, it's not. So here's another talking point. I'm going to get your opinion on it. I think Ange has proven an eye for a player. Does Ange have an eye for a centre half? Because let's get real. I don't think CCV was remotely an Ange Postecoglou signing. I think that was already on the list. I think he was on. Everyone knew Spurs were trying to get rid of on loan, probably for a bigger fee, and we got that at the 11th hour because no one else had came in. If you look at his career before that, he'd been loans left, right, and centre.
Our Vickers had been linked with Celtic for a couple of windows beforehand.
He wasn't that signing, was he? And I don't think Starfelt either.
Well,
now,
but it's maybe a.
Has he got a blind spot when it comes to signing centre backs, Terry?
I don't know. Do you think Starfelt was an Ange signing?
No, I don't.
But
I absolutely do not.
At that time, and I wish I could remember the lad's name, there was two centre halves that we were linked with at that time, and I think the other one was possibly a Croatian or Serbian player, and I'm not sure where he ended up, but it was a choice. I think looked as if it was between him and Starfelt, and we went for Starfelt anyway. Carter Vickers, as I said, he'd been linked with Celtic certainly when Lennon was the manager, Carter Vickers had been linked with loan moves at different stages. But I mean, I'm more than happy to sort of take the viewpoint that certain players have been presented in front of the manager as people of interest, and he has said, "Yeah, do you know what? Go with that." But I know where you're going with this. He's identified gems in other positions. Does he have a struggle with centre backs? I don't know. If we don't go out and sign one that's
It's just
better,
that I'm just trying to ask questions, but it's still the pot. You know, it's not.
if we don't go out,
my view, by the way, just
if
so
we don't go out,
I know people will get offended, Terry. They'll be watching, going, "Bhoycie says Ange doesn't know a defender." It's not quite what I'm saying. I'm trying to stir debate here. I am not saying it's necessarily doesn't know how to. I'm just looking at a body of evidence and going, is there a question mark?
And also throw this caveat in there as well. Nobody'd be happier than me if Kobayashi comes good, or any of those players that we
he's not, is he? We all know he's not.
We want these players to be successes. We just talk about what we've seen from them on the pitch, and that's all we can do. We don't know. The guy could have trouble settling any of that, you know.
Let me tell you something else. I think going forward, the reason Ange's formula has worked so far so well is because cream rises to the top. The best players get to that level. But defensively in Scottish football is different from the waters you swim in European football or the big five leagues. It's totally different. And I think defensively you need to get guys. I'm going to go back to it. I think like a Carl Starfelt, for all his deficiencies as a footballer, he looks terrible at times, right? He looks uncoordinated at times, Terry. But he does these other wee bits. Sticks his nut when it matters. Knows how to grapple. Knows how to. And you don't like him, right? Like that's not using an example, then, Terry. There's a million other defenders. But right now, we're not in a space where Kobayashi just being a ball winning or a brilliant ball playing centre half, not ball winning, ball playing centre half. That ain't going to cut it in Scotland, because Scotland provides a different set of challenges that maybe other football doesn't. And I get the fact he might tick a hell of a lot of boxes on scouting reports, but then enter Scottish football. And it's like, this is fucking mental here. Like, it's just completely different. You look at the what's the boy called? The defender for Rangers who scored the second goal. He's got an Australian brother.
Sure.
That's the one. I mean, let's be honest. You look at the replay, he has got two hands. He's pulling Kobayashi to fuck before he headers it. I'm not going to sit and use that as an excuse. It's just that's the game you're in now in Scottish football. We've got to go horses for courses at times as well, Terry. I don't think Kobayashi is going to be that guy for us. I think Ange not picking him today tells you that he's realised that as well.
But then you need a completely different skill set for the European challenge.
But the thing is, okay, I'll take that point. But what I will say to you is, if you want to go like for like on the European stage, we'll never be as good. Because they've just got better resources, they've got better players they can bring in, they can afford better. So you go like for like, you'll always be in the wrong end of that conundrum, right? However, when you bring in the other aspects of that and traits, like a Barry Robson's used to do for Celtic in Strachan's era, guys that will be acutely aware, you could say, Terry, of their limitations, but then bring in abundance, a billion other mental skills, resilience skills that you cannot teach. They just are there. Are they the guys Ange is going to be targeting? I don't think so. And I also agree with you, if you want to be honest, take it to Europe, mate. If you put 11 players that Ange identifies in Europe, Celtic can only shop in the supermarkets they can afford, mate. And they ain't got gift cards for Harrods. They're in Aldi's, they're in Lidl. And you take that to Europe, the better quality players will shine through. So you need to be able to balance the debate by bringing other aspects to the table, other things like physicality, like attitude, application. Should be remits, but they're not always, Terry. You know what I mean?
Well, see, I don't know about you, but did you catch any of the Man City Madrid match during the week? Aye. I mean, when we sat and we talked about what Celtic had done against Real Madrid, and we were kind of trying to talk up our brilliant performance in the first 55 minutes, but then Madrid, just how majestic they were.
Derek is right. We need Bobo
how,
back.
How small did they look against Man City the other night? How poor did they look against that? That's just Europe. Europe's just gone a completely new level.
I thought what we watched was a fading force in Real Madrid, a team that had peaked and probably went to the well, like we were talking about earlier, Terry, too many times, and now just reality bit. And when you're against the young guys that are doing it, they're in the present moment. You can't keep going to the past. And Modric, Benzema, etc. Not in a bad way, them world-class footballers, but eventually, time is, the clock always ticks, Terry. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what happened.
We're talking about them being the pinnacle, and don't forget they were champions of Europe the year before. The year before,
and like 6 of the last 8 years, sounds stupid.
And they just have a knack of pulling out in that competition, but they were just completely dismantled on a completely different level. Bhoycie, I know we're talking about lots of stuff there, but we probably need to have a wee look at the main moments from today's game, given that that's what we're here to chat about.
What happened today?
Okay, so we go goal down 4 minutes in. Yep. Erling Haaland, long kick out from the goalkeeper.
Erling Haaland,
Curtis Main. Long kick out from the goalkeeper. Ralston Abada can't decide who's doing what. Ralston takes the ball that Abada should be taking. Curtis Main gets it, cuts back in, and with the aid of a slight deflection, knocks the ball past a falling over Joe Hart.
Let's talk about Joe Hart. I listened to your P.M.P last week. I thought Steve was a brilliant host, far better than me, Terry, but this is why I'm back. This is why I'm back, because you got far too easy a ride off him. He's too nice. He's just such a sound guy. Big Steve, he's so professional. You got the easiest road ever last week, and I'm fucking done with that, Terry. Do you know what I mean? I want P.M.P to be torture for you, mate. I cannot wait for you to quit, because you'll quit because I know you don't want to, but I'm going to make you quit. Right? That's the dream. I'm not joking. Right, but notwithstanding that, you made a few points about Joe Hart that I thought resonated. I went, fucking, he's right. Joe Hart looks busy, but he's just watching stuff happen in front of his eyes. He's watching it happen. Terry, I think you, not in a nice way, described it as falls in his hole. I think that is kind of what he said. I mean, that first goal today, mate.
I call it the bar cast, where you just think if you fall over,
not quick enough there, mate.
Dive. If you just fall over into your net, that's not a dive. That's not an attempt to make a save. That's just falling over and hoping nobody fucking notices that you didn't really make an effort to save it.
Right. How many meaningful saves has Joe Hart made in the last 6-7 years? And I think there's a few in the Europa League, but we got cuffed those games, mate. They got cuffed. We conceded 4 or 5 goals, and you point to the Joe Hart saves and go, he was all right, though. Hey, you got pass marks. We conceded 4, mate. Do you know what I mean? Shut up. I think, if I'm just being honest, it's not a slight on Joe Hart. I don't even need to caveat everything with going, I think Joe Hart's a great guy. If you don't need to always do it, just use your eyes, Terry. Be honest. He's not the goalkeeper for Celtic if you want to progress to the next level. He's not. Tell the truth.
What does Scott Bain's 3-year deal mean for Celtic's first choice goalkeeper next season?
Well, it is a statement of intent that I understand. When you combine it with images that we've now seen of Dermot Desmond shaking hands with Postecoglou, etc., we go, oh wow. And then you start getting images of David Byrne in your head and going, same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Talking heads, mate. That is where you start going, because you go, how is the answer to any of this a 3-year deal for what we thought at the beginning of the season was our third choice goalkeeper? Third choice. Bear in mind, Siegrist came in and we thought was going to challenge Joe Hart. That myth was put to bed very early this campaign. Probably a lot of Benjamin Siegrist's own doing, I dare say, with the photo or at the Eiffel Tower, whatever it was, with a rum in his hand. I thought, fucking hell, you're in trouble, mate. Notwithstanding that, you go, okay, if we arrive in a status where Scott Bain's now your 3-year deal, that's accepting. No offense, Scott Bain. Fuck offense. Fuck him. He gets paid a fortune. Is it accepting averageness, Terry? I think so.
The bigger concern for me was I think that tells us that Joe Hart's number one next season. That's what I take from
No,
it.
it cannot be.
That's what I.
But that deal, you're right. No, you're
That's
right.
what I take from it. Joe Hart.
Yeah,
is not
you're right. You're right.
It's not someone the manager's looking to upgrade next season. That's the immediate thing. My immediate thoughts were,
And is that then settling then, Terry, for the status quo, which is, we never stop, etc., all then falls by the wayside. That whole mantra falls by the wayside. Because you're right. If he's getting a 3-year deal, that means that's your backup goalie. So by default, that means Hart's number one again next year. If you can't use your eyes and say Joe Hart can be improved on with the money that's there, then either you're not forcing your argument fully enough, or secondly, you're having your hands tied behind your back. One of the two, though.
I mean, I get the argument that he fills one of those spots for the European coefficient, but if being Scottish and being good fun in the dressing room is all you need to get a 3-year deal with Celtic, we could have signed Billy Connolly. He's Scottish and he'd be great crack in the dressing room. Do you know what I mean? But the first thing I thought about was that means Joe Hart's number one next season, and that's fine. He'll do for the SPL, but I think.
But we're not going to be measured. The yardstick
we're not. We need to stop measuring ourselves
against
that. We need to stop measuring ourselves against that. We honestly do. We spoke a few weeks ago about how the Champions League's expanding. It's getting bigger. It's going to be a bigger percentage of your games throughout the course of the season. We can't just do what we've always done and just think as long as we're ahead of the team across the city, that's all we need to do. I mean, if that's the height of our ambitions, then.
But again, this is now, Terry.
Then we're back to that Rodgers season 3 scenario again.
Yes,
he wants more. He wants more.
You're now beginning to read my mind, mate. Me and you are hanging about too much. Because exactly what I was about to say to you. Let's go back to the top of the conversation today, and if you think there's parallels, or you might not, or you want to doubt it, there's it. You've just drawn it yourself on a completely different tangent, talking about goalkeepers. You've arrived at the same conclusion. Rodgers season 2. That's funny, that, isn't it? That's quite eerie, mate. That's a completely different spectrum of the conversation we're having. We're talking about a specific position, and yet we've ended up back to where we were in minute 3 of the podcast today, talking about Rodgers season 2. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, it's the same point. You get so far with guys like Rodgers, guys like Postecoglou, other managers, where their ambition outweighs the ambition of the entire club, and that only ends up in one thing. We've seen it through history. It only ends up going one way. Rodgers had a list of players that he wanted to bring in that he felt could move us up a level, and he got delivered players who weren't on that A list and legged it whenever the opportunity to go down south came along. And we've said it so many times. If this manager, I know Postecoglou's a little bit older. He's probably just one generation up from Rodgers, and I don't know where his ambitions lie. You know, he's not far off 60, but I honestly think this incoming season will either be his last one, or we'll have made massive strides in our objective setting as a football club, and the objectives of the club will.
Let's get Terry's views on the photo that I was talking about earlier. Let's get your view on that, because clearly,
what one's that?
Dermot Desmond has met Ange Postecoglou of late. Dermot is usually a man we do not associate with being on site. He tends to watch from afar. We see that photo. Something's either occurring. whether that be a good thing or a bad thing. I think my takeaway was I suggest Dermot's in town to get a new deal sorted for Postecoglou. That is how I would look at it. Either way, I think it takes a lot for Dermot Desmond to end up jetting in, shall we say, Terry? I think it does. What's your takeaways from those images? What is it you suspect's going on there behind the scenes?
Well, you see, everybody's just guessing. If everybody has a guess, somebody will be right and they'll go.
Well, have a fucking guess then. That's what you're here for.
Do you know what I mean? It could be absolutely anything. It could be jetting in.
But that's not true, because if it was just anything, mate, he wouldn't be there. Because look at the trajectory of travel. When it comes to Dermot Desmond, he doesn't just come for anything, mate. He doesn't. He is known.
It doesn't come
described as absent by so many people.
I get that.
Dermot the Hermit, I seen on Twitter the other day, which I laughed at. So if he's in town, there is a reason why, Terry, and that's what I'm asking you. I'm pushing you on.
When was the last time you seen a picture of Dermot Desmond inside Celtic Park?
Oh, exactly. Very rare.
Do you think he's never ever been there?
It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think.
I agree with Mark. I agree with Mark on this one. Mark, I agree with Mark on this one. Celtic have allowed that picture to make its way onto social media.
Agreed.
That's for whatever reason, or a naughty member of staff has taken a sly photo and put it on, which I don't. I'd say it's closer to the first one. Celtic are happy for that picture to go out and for supporters like us to start wondering what this is all about. I'm pretty sure that's it. What is it? What was he here for?
Surely it's a gift to wonder what it's all about.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think not everything needs to have a condescending attitude or a negative one. What is it about though?
I've no idea.
I'm asking your opinion then.
What does it matter if he's there? What does it matter if he's? What difference does it make if he's standing there?
Well, I'm guessing it does make a difference because normally he's not. You've just told me a second ago. You think the photo thing was deliberate. It was going to be released. On the same hand, though, you go, "Oh, does it mean anything? I don't know anything. Does it mean anything?" Shut up! You cannot have it both ways, pal.
Well, you tell me what you think it means then. I haven't a clue.
I think it's either very, very good news. Very, very good news, such as Ange on a 3-year deal, something like that. Or it would be that's him letting them know I'm off ski. I think I go with the earlier one. I do believe that if we subscribe to what you've said, and they're doing these meetings and they want to be photographed doing it, you wouldn't really do it for a bad news story, would you?
Okay, so let's use history. Let's use history then, Bhoycie.
Okay.
Dermot Desmond usually only comes to the forefront when there's something good and meaningful and positive to be announced where he can look like the main man. That's probably what I would say.
Terry, I'm getting told to calm
usually
down.
Only appears in
I'm getting
public.
told to calm down, Terry. I don't like people picking on me.
He usually only appears in public when he's going to come out of it in a good light. So suppose if we take that viewpoint, the natural thing to think about was he's standing there, him and Ange are having a casual conversation. Would it be a massive surprise if there's a deal with Postecoglou announced in the incoming week or in the days leading up to the cup final or something? No, probably not. It's probably the most likely outcome that
they'll get aye.
But it could be nothing. It could be nothing. He could have been driving past and he needed a piss.
No, they're not. He
could have been needing a piss and he ran in for one.
You just told me a minute ago. You've already accepted he's not driving past. It's deliberate. You've already said that. I find it fascinating because I go, if that means Ange's been backed on a long-term deal, that's brilliant to do the whole tick box and stuff and go, we're on board with the fans. You know, the fans will be buzzing with that. I would like to think Ange has a wee bit more about him than just signing deals because of the dollars. Because he could go.
Did you just say buzzing? Did you just say buzzing?
Aye,
like a bumblebee.
Did you see that photo of the
bumblebee sitting at Celtic Park today?
How cool was that, by the way? How cool was that?
Amazing. We need to find out.
That made me I very rarely.
That's why you had the black glasses on at the start because you couldn't control yourself.
Yeah, I think his name's Michael. I don't know though. It was actually my mate Sue who sent me. He's a legend, Big James. And he sent me the photo. He's obviously sitting a few rows back, and he goes, spotted a boy sitting there in the Bhoycie Bus Bumblebee shirt. That's quite humble. Like, I say humble, and I'm not fucking humble. I never will be humble. But like, if I were to be, that would be a moment in time I would look at Terry and go,
Maybe that's why Dermot Desmond was over. No,
Chunky's just getting himself fitted for a new.
he's
Oh,
looking for a bumblebee.
2 seconds, Terry.
Where are you going? What am I up against here? The guy just totally abandons me. Gets up mid-show and danders on. So just to bring that together then for everybody, there was, as Russell was saying, there was a passenger on the bus who had got their bumblebee top, who worked at Celtic Park today, and then somebody decided to send the picture through to Russell and see it there. So that was a great moment for the bus to see somebody sitting there with the top on at the game today. So hopefully that's something we see a bit more of in the future. No, I'm just saying there. I was just sort of painting the picture to the background of it, and it'd be good, Russell, just to see that in the future. Just kind of brings it all home what we've been doing over the last year and a bit or whatever it is, and to actually see somebody sitting in the game.
It was world class moment. It was, and I don't get carried away with stuff like that because every day's a school day, and whenever you get carried away, you always end up fucking being dropped back down to planet Earth very quickly.
Anyway, back to the conversation.
Yes.
Are we gonna go out and sign a better level centre back this summer than what we've got?
Well, let's flip it. Let's flip it, Terry. And if this is a mastermind by Ange right now, okay, which a lot of people want to go along those lines and say the board now know what the obstacles are. It's now laid bare in front of your face, such as a 3-0 defeat at Ibrox, drawing today at home at St Mirren. It's forcing their hand almost. If that is the case, does that mean the ambition goes up? Or would the ambition be higher based on records points total? Do you know what I mean? Like going, fucking hell, we need to back this guy because these facts and stats are just too compelling for us not to go all in on this guy. Or do people think by losing the way in the manner we did the other week and drawing today at home, does that force their hand more? I find that a very interesting conundrum because factually, Terry, it shouldn't be about that. History shouldn't be about. It shouldn't be reactionary based on a couple of results. It should be based on if we're in on this guy, you give him the new deal, and then you give him, let's say there's 60 million quid in the bank, and you're willing to go the maximum budget you would give him is 25 of that. Then if you think you've got the right guy in situ, you give him that 25, right? I'm just, these figures, by the way, I'm completely making up. All right. I'm just saying hypothetically, if it is your boy, then I think you go, whatever your limitations and whether that ceiling is something I agree with or not is irrelevant. But whatever you think your ceiling's at, you go, you push that for that manager. It shouldn't take bad results to then think, oh, well, it's actually worked out in Angie's favour, because that'll make them realise that really shouldn't be, to me, a deciding factor.
But historically, that's the way it is at Celtic.
It's reactionary, Terry.
We don't strengthen from a position of strength. Not in my lifetime.
It's a new board, mate.
Not in my lifetime.
It's a new board, remember?
It is.
Peter Lawwell's the what is he? He's the
T-boy.
He's the chairman. What is he called?
Chairman.
What's the title?
Chairman of the PLC, is it not? Huh?
No, but he's not the actual chairman. He's the fucking. He's. Someone will tell us in the chat. He's not like he's got a wee bit in front of chairman. That's like basically devalues his position, Terry. Do you know what I mean? So folk go, he's not quite the chairman. I go, well, who else has chairman in their title at Celtic? Who else? Nobody. So guess what? See, the only person that's deputy, non-executive chairman, Phil McKinley, non-executive chairman, Terry, right? So if you're non-executive chairman, make you the only guy in the doors with the word chairman in your job title. Who's the chairman? Pretty sure I know the non-exec chairman is the chairman, Terry, right? If no one else has chairman in the job title. It sounds like a chairman to me. What do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you want them to learn from those mistakes. You're saying, well, if history tells us, then we've always been reactionary. Well, if this is a new dawn and a new era, then we've learned from those mistakes. We don't carry on repeating them. But you're giving me the fear you think the exact same mantra, the exact same approach will be taken again right now.
Again, that's just gone on experience of what we've seen. We've been here many times before, and
So you don't think Ange had a big influence in the club then? You don't think he's had enough of a Ange? He's not had a big enough. He's not
yeah, I
shifted
think he has.
moods
I think
enough though. Is he
he's been.
shifting moods though? You're saying he's doing because they're all going to do the same thing, Terry. So he's not shifted the mood enough.
Brendan Rodgers shifted the mood, and he didn't get the backing.
I don't think he did shift the mood.
I think he did.
I
He had
think
13,000 people at his arrival.
and that wasn't enough. It's crazy when you look back. You go, how the fuck is that not enough? It should be telling you. I actually don't think they liked it. If you want to know the honest truth,
Probably.
I think their nose was out of joint that he was that big.
Probably
Have
they
you learned from that, Terry?
I don't know, Bhoycie. We'll know in 3 months' time, mate. We'll know in 3 months' time if we're sitting here.
I just want you to be speculative, though, Terry. I
Well,
just
I
want a
know,
bit of gossip
I know,
off you, mate.
I know that. But I'd love to get excited about it. But if it was me, and I've said this before, if it was me, I would take the budget, whatever the budget is, I would take it and I would spend it on 2-3 players. 2-3 players. Let's go for 3. 3 that go right into that team and play every week. Not these guys that are coming in, they sit on the bench, they come on if somebody else gets injured, they come in every now and again to give somebody else a rest. We've enough of those. We don't need more of those. We need.
Who do you trust to get that? Who do you trust to get 3 players in? Ange and the board combined? Or do we need a fresh approach in terms of the transfer strategy? Because I'm going to go back to what we're saying at the very beginning of the show today. I don't think the last 2 windows have actually shown Celtic in a great light. I think they've been dressed up brilliantly. I think marketing-wise, we've looked like we're on the ball here. Celtic's in control. But when you actually strip it down, you go, those last 2 windows are shocking from Celtic. And that is from a position of strength. This next window we go into is a position of strength unknown before. I think very, very similar to Rodgers going into season 3. He wanted to go to the next level. Whether people like the idea of Piccini and Castagna signing for Celtic or not, they were guys identified by the football manager to improve the team, that he felt were on a different level to what we already had. Based on what we've seen in the last 2 windows, are we going to actually go to that next level yet? Or are we going to see another repeat and it'll be 3 windows in a row where guys come in that are borderline better or projects for what's already there? That's not what we need.
It's not what we need, but I think that's the most likely outcome.
I agree. I agree with you, by the way. If you want to know the truth, I agree with you.
It's not what I want. It's not what I would do. I mean, just looking at those names that you've mentioned there, Rodgers, Castagna is an excellent fullback, and he's still playing in the Premiership, albeit for
Rodgers
Leicester.
paid £22 million for Leicester.
Yeah, he did.
And we were £9 million he couldn't convince our board to part ways with.
He did.
9.
And obviously the one I always talk about was McGinn. I mean, can you imagine that guy strutting about the Celtic midfield? But I would trust the manager, and I think it'll be like any summer. There'll be A lists, B lists, and C lists. We just have to make sure that the ones we get are from the A list, because if we just do what we always do and go out and get some players who aren't really better than what we have, then we're just accepting that we've absolutely no ambition beyond what we're doing now. And what we're doing now, don't get me wrong, we're sitting here on the cusp of yet another treble. For somebody
I said this. Me and you spoke about this shit when we crashed out Europe.
Rangers 9 in a row. This is an amazing time. This is an amazing time to be alive.
But remember we crashed out Europe, and me and you sat there, and I went, I know by the end of the season I'll be going, do you know what though? Domestically we're amazing again. And I went, can I refocus? Can I be balanced still? And it's so easy to forget the feeling of crashing out Europe before Christmas again. And because of the domestic bliss. And is it an ignorant view? Is it right to be like that?
Aye, it is right to be like that because that's all we
Fair
know.
enough.
That's all we know. And more than anybody, I
Is
hope
that all we're capable of, Terry?
No, it's not what we're capable of.
What do you think we're capable of?
In terms of
I'm
targets
grilling the
and
poor guy.
ambition for this
This is
club,
brilliant. This
I
is 2
think we're
weeks worth
capable.
of. This is 2 weeks worth of Terry getting grilled.
I think as a club we should. We're capable of getting to a Europa League final because the team across the city
Completely
done it.
agree.
We're better than them.
I
So why
completely
not?
agree with you, mate.
We're not capable of winning the Champions League. That's
So,
just plain.
as the signings in the last 2 windows equated to that
nowhere near
argument that
it.
you just made? No,
Nowhere
they've
near
not.
it because to
Nowhere
get to
near it, mate.
to get to a Europa League final, you're going to have to go out there and beat a team like Dortmund.
And you need to improve your first team. With every window that passes,
Leipzig.
you have to improve the starting 11. We have not done that in the last 2 windows. Aaron Moy had a flavour of the month moment where he just went hot for 2 months, right? He's the only guy in the last 2 windows. Alistair Johnson, in fact, sorry, I take that back. Johnson was a necessity because, and again, the happy clappers will tell you, replaced a world-class right back, Terry. A world-class. We were talking about a £25 million at one point, Josip Juranovic. We replaced him with Johnston. Yes, it's struck gold. I think he isn't, in my eyes, he is actually an improvement on Juranovic. I believe that. However, out with Johnston and an Aaron Moy flirtation with being the old Aaron Moy for a couple of months, we've not signed anyone in the last 2 windows. Whilst having all the tools to do so, bear in mind, this actually walked into our first team and improved it. That is scary to me.
And we can get players, Bhoycie. Do you know what I mean? Carter Vickers, we've touched on.
Completely agree.
What Carter Vickers, right? Let's look at on the face of things. We look at him as being one of the best players that we've got, and he has proven to be somebody that can't be replaced with what we've got within our squad. But on the face of it, though, he isn't first choice for his country, and his country is probably on a par with Scotland, maybe slightly ahead of the Scotland national team. He's not a first pick for them. He's not been able to get a game in the English Premiership. Yet we look at that as being a player who is on the level we need to get more players. So that puts to bed the argument we can't get players of that level to come to Celtic because we've gone and identified, we found him. There's so many players out there at the level of him that we could get who aren't good enough to play in the Premiership, aren't playing for...
Is it going to be in the J League?
Hey?
It's not going to be in the J League, is it?
I don't think so. I think that
the wells went dry, isn't it?
Unless we've got a time machine and we can whip Iniesta
the wells
back
went dry, mate. We've
10
just
years ago.
The player of the year there.
I think that one's gone.
We're now trying to position him in a centre half today because the
that one's
other
gone.
J League player we signed isn't even rated enough to play centre back today. That tells me, in a nutshell, that is an avenue we went down too many times now. It's now, yes, I think Ange has his finger in many pies. Don't take that the wrong way, Pie Sports.
So what market do we turn to, Bhoycie?
I think we need to look at a market that is. I'll tell you the market I think we look at.
Can we still get players from the Premiership?
Regardless of where they come from, regardless of what league, that are within our remit and that are good enough to improve our first 11. And if that means it's from the EPL reserves or it means it's from the Iranian league, I don't give a toss. But they need to be able to not substantiate the squad and bring a bit of padding to it and a wee bit of, powder puff reserveness. I think we want guys now that can walk in, Terry, to that starting lineup and go, I'm that good. You've got no choice but to play me.
Of course we do.
I don't think we've signed enough compelling guys like that over the last 2 windows. It's just my opinion on it.
No, you're absolutely right. When we signed Carter Vickers, when we signed him on loan, probably not very many people had seen him. But when they'd seen him, when they'd seen Jota, we knew when we were going out and signing them permanently, they were first team ready players. we probably haven't signed anybody since then that you've gone, well, actually, do you know
So,
what?
so, so, the one time Ange just signed first team ready guys like Jota's, CCVs was necessity, because we genuinely needed. It wasn't because it was enhancing what we had in front of us. It was we need first team guys. So now we're in a position of strength. Has he proven he can go into the market and improve in the first team? I'm not convinced of that, to be honest with you. I think Ange's got a level of players that he's used to working with. I think the next level will be of a certain degree, and when you actually look at his career as a manager, won't have worked with before, Terry. That's not me being negative on the guy. It's just the facts are what they are. His highlights in managerial career is winning the J League, taking Australia a World Cup, winning the Asian Cup with Australia, winning the A League 4 times. That ain't the level that's going to get us last 16, last 8 at the Champions League with Celtic. So that would mean Ange operating then with a next level of players that he's not accustomed to, and that maybe he's never had to identify before. And that then becomes the real debate. If he's not used to doing that, can Celtic help him do that? Is that why Matt Lawwell's there? Will we assist this guy? And once he then gets guys of that level, like Jota, for example, I look at Jota and I go, and I know I'm biased. Maybe I'm biased because I fancy him. I don't even know I'm straight, but I think I fancy Jota. I think he is of a level we're not used to. And he's held to a higher standard because we're all acutely aware of the level he actually is. And Andrew's got the best out of him. He's actually improved him. Is there more Jotas out there in the world for Ange to get? Yeah, of course. Good. No, I hope so, mate.
Everywhere. There's players everywhere. You've got to identify them. I mean, Jota wasn't. Where was Jota? He was languishing in Spanish second division on loan.
He was in the top flight. It was the top flight. Played 17 games for
Valladolid.
Valladolid La Liga. One goal, one assist, I think he did in 17 games.
Side, yeah, he had 3 goal involvements in a season or something. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to be at the top of anybody's spreadsheets and at the top of any data lists. He's someone that the club have become aware of for whatever reason and have seen that if we bring this guy in, though the fact we brought him in on loan, probably got him in, get a look at him, but it became quite obvious early on that he was on a different level to what we had at the club.
So how many times can we? That's what I want, and I know. Is this summer we're going to see 3-4 Jotas come in that level, Terry? Well, that's what we need. That's what undeniably this team needs.
That's what I think we need. I think two or three. I'll go for 3. I think we need 3 players of that Jota, Carter, Vickers level, who the day you see them standing there with that scarf above their head, you know they're playing 50 games this season. They're not somebody who's going to sit on the bench, come on now and again, go out the squad into the squad. You'll know when those players are standing there with the scarf above their head, whether they're first team players or whether they're just more players that might some might come good, some might not. They'll fall by the wayside. Who knows? I want to get excited about this summer, boys. I really, really want to get excited about it. I just need to see the proof in the pudding. I need to see the signs that that's
You're
the
right,
direction
Terry,
we're going in.
You're right. And it's not just trying to be negative. I think like days like today highlight where our concerns lie. Because you then can go, okay, we've ended up in a space where, yes, we'll win a domestic treble, but at the end of the day, we left the Champions League with 2 points. I think the group was favourable. I think everyone thought the group was favourable if we went into it, then changed their mindset after we fucked it up and went, oh, it's a really tough group. I don't think the group we get in the Champions League this year will be as comparable. With the likes of Shakhtar, I think we're a poor side.
Look back at the group now from where you're now at the end of the competition.
But no one wants to accept that. Terry, see, when we went into it, we were favourites to get through. Everyone had us as favourites to get through beside Real Madrid. Celtic fans, a universal argument was, we'll get through that group. Then it changed after the 6 games were done into, but look at the qualities of them. Then you look at what Leipzig and Shakhtar both did in their next forays, in Europe after the group, and you went, fucking hell, they were there. For
then you look at Madrid.
They were.
You look at Madrid on Wednesday night.
Yeah, totally. But the Madrid one, you always is an exception to the rule, and we know there's going to be a team like that, Terry, that we go, do you know what? Fucking hands up, and for 45 minutes. But again, it's plaudits, not points that we want. Yeah, it's points, not plaudits that we want. I think we go into a sphere now where we can analyse. Did we tool Celtic up or tool Ange up enough for the Champions League this year? I don't think so. In January, did we strengthen or did we weaken? We made profit, admittedly. Did we strengthen the team? Is Owen improvement in Giakoumakis? Don't be fucking stupid. Don't be stupid. And it is a stupid argument. I think we need to ensure mistakes we made in the last two windows, or maybe an approach that's not been as intense, or an approach that's been as needy as what we'd have liked in the last two windows, we can afford to do again this summer. I think this summer we need to be a wee bit more driven, Terry. And it needs to be, as you say, eyes on the prize here. Let's get someone in who's going to take his jersey, whoever it may be that we're talking about.
Yeah, and let's hope we're sitting here, Bhoycie, in 3 months' time and going, that's why Desmond was over. That's why
totally,
that
mate.
was released. That's why, and all these pieces of the jigsaw fit together. Listen, I know we're going to finish up soon. We're talking about post-match. I think we need to touch on two absolute cracking Celtic goals today. I know they only got us a point, but that finish from Kyogo, it was one of those moments where I seen him pull his foot back and I thought,
yep,
there's no way this is going to the net. And as soon as he hit it, there was only one place it was going, and that was in the net. It just shows you what you've got with that wee guy.
Can he transfer that to the next level? I think he can. I think he was a wee bit overawed this year in Europe. I don't think he'll make the same mistake twice. And I think the beauty of Kyogo is his age. I think his age, Terry, tells me he's at a maturity level where it's different with a 21-year-old going, oh, I was totally phased last time, so I'll be phased this time. I think he'll look at it and go, raging.
No, I think you can.
I'm raging.
I think if we create anywhere near the number of chances that we created in the Champions League this season, I think we'll score a lot more goals. All I would say was I don't remember him having any other touch other than that touch that he had for that finish. But
how important is that, though? How important is it?
We've seen that lots of times, Bhoycie.
I think it becomes irrelevant.
Yeah. And the other goal from McGregor was a lovely finish as well. He just passed the ball into the net. And his reaction, McGregor's reaction to that goal, demanding to get the ball out of the net.
Terry,
that didn't strike me as somebody who's on the wind down and these
No, I agree with that. Like, Terry, let's do it before you go, because this will be the last talking point of the night. We did it on Bustalgia, so I want to know your take. Is Calmack and Bruni in midfield, or it's McStain Collins? Who'd you pick?
McStain Collins.
Because but one has an avalanche of trophies, mate. To go, shut up, Terry. We win. The other two don't. I choose McStain Collins too.
Do it with my eyes.
I know
what you're saying about trophies and things.
I'm playing devil's advocate, mate, because I agree with you. I am McStain Collins every day of the week. Collins every day of the week. But McGregor and Bruni just go, Are you fucking sure about that, mate?
I know they do.
Because we get the job done. Do you want to get the job done? They might look good, but we look good and get the job done.
My mind's racing
here.
It's
mental, see what you think about it. It's a great question, isn't it?
What I go to straight away is Bruni and McGregor were playing against, and you always do this, Bhoycie. You always think about the other side of the city. Bruni and McGregor were at stages up against Andy Halliday and fucking people like that. McStain Collins.
You can only be. But McStain Collins finished fourth in the league, mate.
Eh?
They finished third and fourth in the league.
I know, mate.
So you've got to be like, it's balanced, mate. We've got to be balanced on it. And my eyes are the same as yours, by the way. I look at the two footballers, I go McStain Collins every day.
I kind of look at McGregor now in the same sort of mention him in the same kind of sentence as some of those great midfielders of the past. Brown, I'm really torn on Brown because his record's amazing and he was a tremendous leader. I honestly felt he was very limited as a as a footballer.
Well,
Really
my memory of Brown is that he had 3 generations at Celtic, Terry. I think when he first came in, he was the box-to-box guy. He was meant to be tricks, slicks, and all that stuff.
Aye.
And then Lenny came in and made him captain, where we all thought he was going to Newcastle or Spurs at that point. And Lenny went, "No, I like what I see of him." And he does the Brunei, he scores with El Hadji beside him. Then you see him under Dyla on the way out again. And then Brendan Rodgers comes in and becomes the best passing rate in the Champions League that first season. He was number 1 midfielder for passing. I know that's fucking means nothing, right? But he was, and whether we like it or not, the number 1 pass completion rate was Scott Brown. And you went, fucking hell, he's reborn again. And I find that aspect to him fascinating.
You could argue to the cows come home. What
it was different though. Do you know what I mean? Like he regenerated himself. It's not.
I know. But what I would say about McStay, Collins, and McGregor, those 3, I can't remember many moments where they've had a really heavy touch or they've tried a 5-yard pass and fucking kicked it out for a throw in. And I can remember Brown moments, and I'm being overly critical on the guy. I just didn't think. He didn't have the same natural ability as a footballer than those other 3, but he did match that and made up for that in spades with his attitude, his gallantness.
22 trophies, mate, which you can always use as an argument. And
you could sit in this conversation all night and you'd probably end up arguing with yourself about the outcome.
I totally agree. It's a brilliant debate. I just think.
Oh, superb one.
Because you've seen it all.
Maybe one for a show during the summer.
You've seen it all, Terry. You've seen it all, mate. You were there in the thick of it at that time, like growing up in your late teens, McStay and Collins, you go fucking fine footballers, like they're proper good. But it was in a period of angst, a period of decline. And then you look at Brown and McGregor and you go, as you rightfully might point out, it was easier the competition anyway. Well, you can only beat what's in front of you. I dare say Collins and McStay were good enough to finish second in the league 9 years in a row. If they can't finish first. Second. Come on, lads. But, notwithstanding it, I also happen to be on your side of the debate. I would pick those 2 before McGregor and Brown, which is fucked up.
Brazil in the World Cup and not looking at a place either. Definitely Collins played against Brazil. And
what a wonderful footballer.
You can imagine that was his element, like playing in the World Cup.
He's got a bit of Brendan about me.
Yeah, Collins has got an aura about him, and I know.
Should he be a manager?
I think he should. He's one of those people now that, and I know he gets a lot of stick and probably deserves some of it, but he's still someone that I like listening to. I like listening to him when he talks.
Could not agree more.
Like listening to him when he talks.
Could not agree more, Terry.
I can feel the passion coming from his voice, and you can see the animation in his face. He loves the game of football, and I'm very surprised he's not still in. Do
you know? I watched one of his interviews before we did the Bustalgia thing. I do my homework, Terry, believe it or not, and it was Collins talking about the lead up to the Hibs League Cup final that he was manager of, and he basically sat there and he goes, "I had 2 ways to take that team. Mowbray had done a brilliant job." He goes, "But I had 2 ways to take them: the French way, or the way the players wanted to go." And that was the Scottish way. It was only one way I was going to do it. That's what he says. It was only one way. And eventually that became his death knell, because the Scottish guys end up having their day, and they go to the chairman and go, he's pissing us off. All Collins wanted was elite standards. And if you want to win more League Cups, come with me. Like, do what I did when I was playing with Trezeguet, Petit, Barthez, fucking, you know what I mean? Like, Thuram. That's who Collins in that midfield, like that team with, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, they all ended up French World Cup winners. Who's the first guy to sign Collins? Walter Smith. Why is Walter Smith signing you? So he's watched you playing in a Celtic jersey when he's Rangers manager going, he's fucking good, like. Then he ends up at Fulham under John Tigana, who'd been his teammate at Monaco. And he wins Championship Player of the Year, or Division 1 Player of the Year at that point. And you think, you would listen to that guy. But in Scottish football, it doesn't always work like that. Anyway, Terry, I will let you go, Terry. It's been a brilliant P.M.P, mate. And we've actually not felt like that bad tonight, which is good.
No,
big thanks to everyone else who's been watching. Sorry, me and Terry haven't fell out as we normally do. We will make sure that gets repeated next week. I've just tried bleeding back in. Just to make sure he's still in the team. Terry, you're the man, mate. Enjoy your weekend, all right, pal?
See you later.
Hail, hail.
Bye.